So I guess to get started, Dr. Ashton, we can start with you. I feel like you are doing so much these days and you're kind of everywhere. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what you think some of the biggest trends that you're seeing. And what's really interesting too is we were talking earlier and you're going back to school and getting a degree in nutrition on top of everything else you're doing. And I know that wearables is factoring into your thesis and stuff like that too. So maybe you could just give us an overview of what you're seeing and how you're noting the impact of that and bringing it into what you're doing.
Sure. Well, it's interesting because you mentioned going back to school, and I didn't mention that in my introduction, but I'm less than 1 year away now in a master's in nutrition, so you should probably give me some of your tips at Columbia. I decided to go back and get this master's because there's such a dearth of knowledge that physicians have by training and in practice about food and the impact of food, and obviously not just weight loss, but how food can be your medicine or food can be your poison. And as part of this master's degree, we actually have to conduct our own clinical research, our own master's thesis study. So I hybridized things that I love because I figured I'm going to be tortured anyway. Might as well enjoy the stuff that I'm looking at. So I took adolescent health, which is a medical interest of mine in terms of gynecology, fitness, and a wearable fitness behavioral tracking device. And the group that I have chosen to study is actually my daughter's high school ice hockey team. So it's a group of elite female high school ice hockey players. You can imagine there aren't that many of them, probably several hundred in the country. And what I found, and this is where a lot of what we will be talking about, I think this really drives the point home about how important what you all are doing is. These are the top ranked teenage ice hockey players in the United States, girls. You would assume that they would be very tech savvy, very fitness savvy, very nutritionally savvy, very athletically savvy, because these are girls that compete on the national level. When I started the study, which was just last month, I purchased and gave out to every member of the team a popular tracking device. One girl on the team, who was my daughter, so full disclosure, had ever used one before. And these are high school girls. Then I started to ask them, do you know what your maximum heart rate is? Do you know how many hours of sleep you get? The basics. I'm of course interested in what you're all studying because there's no end, pregnancy and asthma and thyroidism, psychiatry, there's no end medically to what you can follow, but I'm starting here at the basic level. These girls did not know the answer, and they had never tracked those parameters before. So I'll let you know when I finish the study what I find, but I think it's already pretty obvious that not only is there a tremendous need, but it's a portal for education also for these behaviors, which I really think are at the foundation of our health and wellness.
But what we found is that there's a huge oversight in terms of what's being developed in the headphone industry, and that's that there is a lot of consumer complaints about the lack of sound quality, as well as the cumbersome wires. Wireless earbuds aren't truly wireless. There's still a wire connecting the earbuds from A to B. With HearNotes, you have complete freedom of movement. So if you are talking about being at the gym and you have that lossless audio coming through and it's your favorite song and you're not encumbered by any wires, imagine the possibilities of motivation. Combine that with a brand message that's inspirational and not just aspirational, you start to create a holistic message of, this brand is really, this company is all about actually helping me be a better me and capturing that spirit of music that motivates all of us universally.
I really think it's interesting is that the consumer is now the one empowered with information, whereas if you think about it, you used to have to go to a meeting or a center to get the information parsed out to you. Now you can get that information at any time. What I think is missing and what we started talking about is the education piece. So that was sort of that beautiful thing about Weight Watchers is you sat in a room and you got a piece of education every week. So now the data is so immediately available to you on your watch or on your smartphone or via a device, but if you don't build in an education platform before you sell that device, you're gonna be in trouble. They're not gonna take it out of the box. They're not gonna know how to use it. It's going to be a wasted effort. So it's interesting because we're developing a breath technology device called Level. And the device is an amazing sort of a game changer in the industry, where this device will be something that lives in your bathroom, sits on your countertop, you breathe in it twice daily, so it's like a breathalyzer. It will read the amount of a gas called acetone that's released in your breath when you are actually burning fat. So when your body's burning fat and the fat molecules are busting open for energy, what's coming out, it's coming out through your breath. So this device will finally read if you are in a fat burning mode or not. So you'll finally know if the weight loss program you're using or the exercise program you're using actually works. But the danger, and what we're working so hard at Level, is educating before we drop this device.
What we have found with breathing is that in our clinical studies, first of all, we have run a study. I will a very accurate description of one of our studies. This was a group of overweight individuals with an average of 40% of body fat. A total of 40 individuals received an iPad with the activity tracker and a calorie counter tracker. And they were instructed to follow a calorie intake goal in order to reach a certain weight. Half of the group had the breathing device in their possession, and what we could notice is that the group that were actually tracking metabolism and getting a calorie intake goal based on their metabolism were the ones coming with more interesting questions to us to support the study, because they were learning about themselves and their calorie burn. So that was one indication that when you bring a piece of technology, it does actually bring curiosity. And that's the part that Liz was mentioning, be ready with education and providing the right material.
You know, I actually think there's, you know, for users and members and customers, there's actually two kinds of privacy concerns, right? There's a privacy concern that's about someone malicious stealing your information, and actually there's a privacy concern about someone malicious selling your information, right? And I think both of those are real risks in the world, and especially in a world like mobile where there's so much that's free. And so, you know, I think certainly everyone that's in the industry at scale spends a lot of time on security. And so I think, you know, anyone who's smart and well aligned is working hard on that problem. I think the more challenging problem for consumers is to figure out what is the privacy relationship they'd like to have with the companies themselves. You know, I think companies like Apple and Google have worked incredibly hard in their health platform to make it really clear that privacy is first and foremost for consumers. You know, and I think that is the type of thing that consumers are going to look for. You know, they need the ability to share their data. That's where all the benefit's going to come from. But they need to feel like they're making the choice to do so, and that they control that choice at all times, and that they can rescind that choice at any moment. And I think that's a difficult technology problem and a difficult problem for the industry.